Well, going into Knotwood Hill certainly did answer some of the questions we had going on here. The most important being, this is not my fault! But we also have to figure out what to do now about the two factions of Darkspawn here. We know that one is being led by someone called the Mother and the other by someone called the Architect. And based upon what we saw, it's unlikely that we took either one of them out with what we did in that Tig there. So the next logical place to check would be those attacks that are occurring along the Pilgrim's Path over in the Wending Wood. We should probably check in with the Mages Guild to see if they have any information that might point us in the right direction. I mean, besides selling us a map of the area.
Our caravans are being attacked. The wagons are burnt to ashes, and there have been no survivors. It's gotten worse lately. People from the neighbouring villages have found guards torn limb from limb and left in the village square.
I knew the Darkspawn were evil, but I couldn't imagine they'd resort to littering.
Whatever it is, it's completely crippled trade between Amaranthine and Denerim. No one wants to travel the road through the Wending Wood. Can the Grey Wardens help at all?
Can the Grey Wardens help? Is the Divine Andrastian? Do werewolves shit in the woods? We've got this covered for you, buddy. I mean, if nothing else, I need clean socks on a regular basis. Before we leave town, we happen across Wynne, of all people. What's your leathery old ass doing in this place? It seems there's a meeting of all the big shot mages. Obviously, I wasn't invited because between running a country and trying to thwart the Darkspawn, I'm a little busy to go and argue with people in dresses.
The Libertarians wish to pull away entirely from the Chantry. And if they get enough support...
Pull away entirely? That's madness. I hate Chantry oversight as much as the next mage, but they can't just decide to leave. This is a recipe for disaster.
Wait. You want freedom for yourself, but you don't want freedom for all the rest of the mages, huh? Wow, you are an asshole even by Jawan standards.
The mages will never be free. The Chantry would never allow it. Our only hope for survival is to show them we can be trusted. Don't you remember what happened to the Circle in Ferelden? Do you want to give the Templars another excuse to call for the culling of all mages?
Exactly. We live with a knife to our throats in the towers, held by people who call our gifts a curse, some of whom would rather err on the side of killing every last one of us. That's not hyperbole, it's stated fact. The Chantry has turned what should be a symbol of wisdom and learning and seeking our full potential into a prison that we long to escape. Joining the Grey Wardens was a death sentence, but the day that sentence was pronounced was the day my chains were finally broken. I'm not demanding a violent revolution, but if we peacefully break away and the Templars overreact, that's on them. If a Templar raises a hand to strike down a mage who's only saying they don't want to be a slave anymore, I'll slice that hand off.
This discussion will get us nowhere. Now, I have a great many preparations to make before I leave for Navarra, but perhaps there is something you can do for me.
Well, you've done such a great job of buttering me up so far. What is it? Probably give some Templar a foot rub or something? She wants me to go collect a botanist named Ines who's out in the Wending Woods looking for God only knows what.
Hobbies and eccentricities aside, Ines is a well-respected mage and a voice of reason, something we could use on our side.
Reason I can get behind. I'm always in favor of reason. Well, Wynne's not the only old friend that we run across here. You'll never guess who's waiting for us back at Vigil's Keep.
The Darkspawn surrounded me and started talking, asking me if I would like lemon in my tea. And could I please teach them to read and write? And one of them kept repeating, "Where's the baby?" And that's when I woke up.
I wasn't actually referring to you, Oghren. I'm referring to...
I see you are back amongst the Grey Wardens. Leadership looks good on you, I think.
Who'd have thunk that the day would come that my greatest enemy, who wanted to betray and murder me several times, would actually be a breath of fresh air. It's actually good to see you.
And you. I wish I could join you here, but that is not to be. I have been commanded to join the Wardens in Mont-Simar.
Morlaix? They're sending you to Orlais. They do know you'll be showing up armed, right? And they say people in Weishaupt have no sense of humor.
It was good to see you again. With you here, I know the Wardens will have matters well in hand.
Thanks. I gotta say, you are definitely my best frenemy. But just meeting with Loghain again, and Wynne, and smelling Oghren from over there reminds me of all the old days. I wonder what some of the others get up to from time to time. I wonder what's up with Leliana. Given all that she went through, I can't help but reflect upon it as if it was a flashback that I recorded just the other day.
Do you want to know a secret? This tale of foolish people long ago, I know what happened and what is true, but I don't know how it should end. Let me tell it one more time, and perhaps together we will see.
Leliana's song is set during her moment of transition from the old way of life towards that which she would be living under when she finally encounters the Warden in Lothering. This story is set in familiar locales, much like Witch Hunt would be, in this case the city of Denerim, where she is joined by her two companions, Sketch and Tug, an apostate elven mage and a casteless dwarf, respectively. The three of them are working directly under Marjolaine out here, whose name should be familiar from the original game, but there's no sense in me spoiling all that just yet, since this is about the events that played out there.
We are here to show Ferelden how Orlais commands the game. Several jobs and a personal score of my own, but the rest of the night is yours.
The Great Game, as it's called, is basically the Orlesian dick measuring contest. It's a whole bunch of one-upmanship events involving all kinds of chicanery, up to and including murder, all to prove that you're Mr. or Mrs. Fancy Pants. The idea is that you have to hit a perfect middle, where everyone knows that you did something, but nobody can prove you've done anything wrong. You can understand why Loghain hates them so much. So much time and effort and even lives wasted for such a stupid reason. But the nobles need to amuse themselves in some way, and can only get so much mileage out of beating a farmer to death for no reason. But that's what they're here for, to play their part in the Great Game. And Leliana, Sketch, and Tug are going to be involved in a little bit of low-key mayhem. They start with a little bit of dicking with the locals. They steal stuff from each of these different stalls, and then swap the stuff around so everybody thinks that they've been robbed by somebody else. I guess if you're Orlesian, that kind of thing is hilarious. After that, their next step is to dishonor this nobleman, which involves murdering his guards and then doing various things to his unconscious person. I don't know if it involves like drawing a dick on his face or something, but it will definitely shame him. Although I'm betting he'd rather have that than wind up like his own guards did. To round it out, they discover the unconscious body of the captain of the guard, Marjolaine's work, and so to add insult to injury, they put some, quote, suspect undergarments on him. The Great Game isn't exactly the most highbrow entertainment, is it? After quickly putting down a snitch, it's time to meet up with Marjolaine. After all, discretion is the most important part of the Great Game.
Marjolaine? Marjolaine! Don't tease me today.
That's how we do it.
Second most important. The most important is the post-game tickle fight. After this girl-on-girl stuff is finished, Marjolaine tells Leliana that there's one big job left tonight, but she'll tell her the details later after she gets all geared up. She doesn't say all geared up, of course, but that's the implication when she points Leliana towards the shopkeeper that they'll be using.
Sodding stone.
You can't come to Denerim without visiting the Earl's estate.
You're mad.
The Earl is away, and most of the King's patrol has been drawn to some sort of trouble in the market.
I wonder what that could have been.
I
employer just wants us to plant some embarrassing papers under the cover of a burglary. It will be assumed they were here all along. Unless you think you're not up to my challenge.
We let nobles decide who to blame. We are just the enablers of the game.
Leliana, this is no time for your Hallmark cards. Since this is under the disguise of a burglary, they're going to have to make a bit of a fuss. So, they make a bit of a fuss, with a whole lot more killing and all of that good stuff. Of course, they also have to make a show of trying to cover their tracks, just not doing a very good job of it.
Shallow grave in a pumpkin patch. There's a bad song in that.
Yeah, I think that's one of Nickelback's, actually. Having taken care of that business, they slip inside to take care of the other business, but they come across a grisly sight.
Do Ferelden's condone torture? Or is this allowed because the Earl is away?
Doesn't say much for whoever was left in charge.
Well, one thing's for sure, we definitely don't want to do anything that would get us tossed down here. Definitely not. Now, on a completely unrelated topic, the burglary. We spot Marjolaine with some noblemen, and when we check out the papers that are supposed to be embarrassing to some Ferelden, it turns out that they have, well, Orlesian seals on them.
Marjolaine, these seals are Orlesian military. This is not some embarrassment of nobility.
Who am I to say what upsets this lot?
You seem to know them pretty well from what I saw.
Rare. Marjolaine insists that now is not the time for this kind of conversation. They need to get out of here. And that is probably good advice. Back at the hideout, Leliana is really questioning what it was they did out there, and so she decides to talk to Sketch and Tug about it. Sketch is naturally the most concerned because he's both an elf and an apostate. Either one of those can get you killed for no reason. Both together means that someone just needs to snap their fingers and you can die. Being tied to high treason, well, that's really not doing much for his life expectancy. Tug is more bothered about the fact that they weren't told the level of risk that this entails, and of course appropriately compensated for that level of risk. Tug needs that money, of course. He really wants to get into women's pants, and not in the way that captain of the guard wound up. Well, Leliana has made up her mind. She's going to have to talk to Marjolaine about it. This is something that they'll probably have to go back in for to try to make right.
Marjolaine, there is no blind eye for treason. They hang you in the street.
My poor pretty thing, lost in a strange place. This is about seeing me with that officer, isn't it?
Wow, she thinks you've got an IQ of like 12, Leliana. Leliana does her best to make clear that she's an actual fucking grown-up and should probably handle this in an appropriate manner. So Marjolaine says that they'll make this thing right. And of course, she's proven so trustworthy so far.
There. Let's get your precious papers and go.
Well, wouldn't you know it, an alarm sounds. Marjolaine bravely runs off to go and help cover for us. I am certain that's exactly what she's doing. Of course, we're still going to have to fight our way past some guards and mercenaries and such, which is what led to a problem that I had with this. Alright, I managed to get to part 3 before bitching about this, but at the start of the month I broke my hand, and so recording footage has not been easy for this game, and I made the big mistake of choosing Leliana's song as the place to start with all of this. This is not easy. First of all, because you're locked in with what the classes are. The classes are not optimized for you to play with, and what's more, you go up against these mages that are just ridiculous. They freeze you in place, and then they suck away your life, and then you're dead. And that's it. Having not touched this game since 2 years ago when I did the last Dragon Age stuff, well, I really should have gone into Awakening to get used to how the controls worked and all of that before going back into this one, but I hadn't remembered that this was particularly difficult at the time. So yeah, between that and my busted hand and all that, I just switched the game over to casual mode and did my best to finish it that way, but it still annoyed the hell out of me. So we finally get past all of that stuff and outside, and there's Marjolaine over there. Overall, I think this qualifies as a real clusterfuck, and Leliana is feeling kind of bad that this was all her idea.
I'm sorry I brought us back here, Marjolaine.
Don't be. You were perfect.
We never saw it coming. Yep, Marjolaine betrayed us to Harwin, the guy who's in charge while the Arl is away. And he plans to, well, not do terribly nice things to us. That's probably the nicest she'll be treated during her stay. Some time has passed, and we come across Leliana as she lies on the floor of a cell quietly crying, until a voice coming from above calls out to her. Leliana is a bit suspicious, but the woman drops in a package for her, which contains a way out of this cell, so that's a good start anyway. And the guards let her keep her armor on. That was real thoughtful. Every time my character gets captured, I always wind up in my underwear. Leliana busts out Sketch and Silas. He was a poacher, and naturally for that heinous crime he was locked in a dungeon to be tortured. Yeah, I know medieval punishment for poaching was actually really, really severe. It doesn't change the fact that it's stupid that the only people who are allowed to hunt are the ones who don't actually need to. Anyway, we find Tug's body further inside. He had been tortured to death. Turns out that he did so in order to protect Sketch. The guards were planning to cut Sketch's hands off, and so Tug acted like a dick at them long enough that eventually they took him away to torture first, giving up his life in order to spare Sketch.
She did this. With her beast. They will both answer.
Eventually the trio, while freeing other people who don't deserve to be down here, make their way to the exit, and Leliana collapses on the way out. She wakes up in the chantry, where she is not the most pleasant person to be around.
Your guest is awake.
I was just wondering if you needed any bread buttered. In private, revered Mother Dorothea explains what happened. She's from Orlais, on an unofficial capacity, to try to make right what went wrong. See those papers? They're hers. Marjolaine romanced her and then stole the papers for this little escapade of hers. Dorothea is here to try to stop that. Those papers could be used to incite a war. Ferelden and Orlais are so close to war all the time. Right now, it would just take the smallest thing to ignite an entire powder keg that could blow up both countries.
I can tell you where Marjolaine is, where Commander Raleigh is. Help Orlais and yourself.
And Ferelden too? Yeah, sure, why not? Silas is, of course, itching for more payback and is willing to go and get a little bit of revenge. Sketch isn't so sure. As he puts it, what's it going to really accomplish? He's not going to feel any better. Tug is still dead over what happened. This combines with what Sister Hildegard says to Leliana about how that before she came here, she was the same way that Leliana was, and that she's worried that Leliana is going to leave and not find her way back to the Chantry again. Both are things that are pointing her back towards this life, which, of course, we know is where she's going to wind up. After she goes to get some revenge, of course, you can't very well enjoy the piety until you've gotten all that stuff out of your system.
I could have died in a dungeon, like Tug did.
I recognized a familiar spirit in you, and I had faith. It is a strength you come to understand in service.
I'm glad you didn't start preaching at the time. I could have died in a dungeon, like Tug did.
That is an impressive Leliana impression. You sound just like her. Okay, go ahead. Say, I want some shoes. I want some pretty, pretty little shoes. Come on.
Marjolaine is with Raleigh, seeking passage across the waking sea. I have suggested a path. Be careful.
No problem. Now for the frontal assault.
You're either traitor to your nation or you're
Huh, I thought for sure I could take down a rhinoceros with just one arrow. That's alright, could it be worse? I mean, it could have been a dragon.
unruly girl. Let me demonstrate how one properly controls.
This is why I try not to be optimistic. It never works out for me. Well, we beat our way past those defenses and take the bad guy down, but even at the end, he's still taunting Leliana about how frightened she was in his cells. You gonna take that, Leliana?
Orlais and Ferelden will both hear the facts of your legacy. Once I've had my fun, of course.
Hi-ya!
Damn it, he had my car keys. Marjolaine, as usual, is acting like a snooty little bitch, talking about what Leliana must be getting for those papers.
The papers don't matter. I take them back for nothing.
Then I was right to think you were dangerous.
Don't turn this around on me. What you did was inexcusable.
Once you started to question, it was only a matter of time before you would betray me. That's what I would have done.
So I did it first.
Well, I can see that logic really isn't in high demand with your profession, is it? Marjolaine, of course, needs to believe this, so she keeps insisting to herself that she and Leliana are the same, even though Leliana insists that she's not here for revenge and is not seeking it out. And of course we know that in time Marjolaine will believe that Leliana's coming out of retirement in the Chantry, which is what Leliana goes off to do now, is because it's about revenge against her, and not the whole blight against the entire world thing. Thus one day we know that this twisted, illogical paranoia of hers will bring her to an untimely end. Well, you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but what about all that stuff with the Wending Wood? Was this all just one huge distraction from that? Well, yeah, kinda. See, we sort of lost all the video footage of that, and we had to reconstruct what little we could here. So while I try to get all that together, Oghren, why don't you explain to the audience what happened, okay? Yeah, okay, fine. Let's see. So we're on this path, and then this big spiky bear comes right at us, and no, that we already covered that part. Oh, we did. All right. Well, let's see. We were heading into Black Marsh, and no, we're not that far yet. Well, what the sod are we talking about then? We're talking about when we ran into the elf. Right. I remember now. Okay. We were going to go see the elf because there were all these werewolves. No, that's not even the right game. You act like this is my sodding job. All right, let me see if I remember it. Okay, yeah. So, the warden and I and the frou-frou mage and the noble kid with a stick up his butt are all heading up the pilgrim's path where everything's on fire, and this guy comes running out screaming and stuff about this elf that had attacked them all, and then lo and behold, she's up there, this elf. And she's like, oh, look at my powerful elf magic stuff from my pointy ears and my conveniently exposed rack, and I'll terrify you, and except for you, Oghren, because clearly you're far too terrifying for me to even handle. I better get out of here before you unleash what for upon me. Okay, Oghren, I'll take it from here. I think I've got enough footage to cover the rest of it. Let me know if you need more help. I will. Okay, so here, we've got some footage here. So as you can see, there are bandits about, and there's also that elf. So it looks like the Darkspawn were not responsible for these attacks on the caravans. But we should probably go in there anyway and sort it out. We can't have our caravans being destroyed by anybody. It doesn't matter if it's Darkspawn, bandits, or walking trees. None of those are welcome. Things soon, however, take a strange turn. Besides the walking trees, I mean.
Don't these Dalish elves travel in packs? What's with a tiny camp? And here, looks like there was a bit of a fight, but no bodies. Just all these weapons. Something smells here, Commander, and it isn't me.
I suppose there's a first time for everything. But he's right, there are all these weapons piled up and no bodies. It doesn't make any sense. We soon get our answer as we find a survivor. Well, barely surviving. He's been corrupted already by Darkspawn, so they're definitely in the area. He explains that the Darkspawn found them, ambushed them, and killed most of them. They took all the weapons then and dumped them up at that camp, making it look like the massacre had been caused by humans, when probably they were the ones who did it. Once again, tactical thinking on the part of Darkspawn. Oh, it doesn't even bear thinking about. At this rate, they're going to wind up building frickin' aircraft. Okay, so the Darkspawn are trying to play the elves and the humans off each other. There might be evidence around here we can use to convince that elf we're on her side, but it's near a spider cocoon. At least there's nothing up in the trees. We got to watch that cave. They might try to ambush us out of there. What the? Where did they come from? Ugh, damn it! Take them out, quick, before... Well, there, that's better. Well, there's no way there could possibly be more than 3 up in that thing. Oh, what the hell? What is there, like 6 of them hiding behind one tree branch? These things are the size of a moose. Anyway, after we defeat the Penn and Teller of the Spider Kingdom, we do get proof and head back, and sure enough, we run into the elf again. Perhaps now she'll listen to reason.
We have nothing to talk about. Stop hounding me!
Well, that plan has never worked before. Why should I have expected it to work now? We fight off more of her sapient trees before we get up there and try to confront her directly. Fortunately, she's a bit more reasonable by now.
If it wasn't the humans who killed my people and took Serani, are you saying the Darkspawn did it? That is Serani's. She would never willingly part with that. Our mother gave it to her before she died. Why would the Darkspawn do this?
Probably just to mess with me personally. That's pretty much why anyone does anything around here. Valana, that's her name, asks if she can join us. Her sister is missing. That's what got her in such a tizzy and made her attack those caravans. Right now she just wants to get her sister back. After thinking about it for a while, Tim decides that, well, she's not really that much worse than the company he's already keeping, so welcome aboard. If not, it ought to be a laugh to see how some uptight elf mage deals with 2 perverts on the team. I'm going to start a pool to see who kills who first. She says we need to check out the old Silverite mine, but on the way there I spot Innes. All right, we can sort that problem out too, and I'm sure that as a fellow member of the Circle, she'll be happy to see me.
You're standing in my dirt.
Oh, sorry, hadn't known anyone claimed it.
Don't be sorry, just move.
Sure thing. I got some lint in my belly button so long as you're collecting worthless crap. Anyway, I assume that you are Innes the botanist, right?
You've heard of me then? Read one of my books, have you?
I did actually. There were impressive illustrations, if I recall correctly.
Pretty pictures. Wonderful. Did you come here just to tell me that?
Wynne sent me. She said that we need a voice of reason in the College of Magi. Obviously, there's been some kind of mistake.
Wynne? What now? She's not going to try to get me to teach slack-jawed apprentices again, is she? She used to pester Uldred about his duty to the apprentices, when he just wanted to be left alone. No wonder he went crazy and tried to kill everyone.
2 minutes with you, and I'm starting to see the Templar point of view. I take it you don't like Wynne very much.
Shocking, isn't it? How could anyone not love gold and glorious Wynne to bits?
Guess we can't all be blessed with a scintillating personality like you have.
Well, what does little miss I'm so special the fade shines out my bum want from me?
I can't even remember right now. Oh, yeah. The meeting of the Magi, future of our entire circle. Could be the death of every single mage if things don't go properly.
No, I can't go. Not yet. I'm not leaving till I get the seeds of the northern prickleweed. I've been here too long just to give up.
But how will the college get by without your clearly finely honed sense of priorities? If I get your damn plant, will you finally just go?
I suppose another pair of eyes wouldn't hurt. And if you actually succeed, I'm sure I could scrounge up some kind of reward.
Oh, no. Basking in the warmth of your glowing personality is all the reward I need. Can you point us in the direction of your damn skunk cannabis or whatever the hell we're looking for? After a bit of hunting, we finally find her plant, pluck the seeds, and bring them back to her in the hopes we'll finally be done with this.
Marvelous. Look at them. Oh, magnificent. Such a smooth seed coat.
Look, I honestly don't give a crap if you plan to plant it, smoke it, or masturbate with it. I just want to know, are you done now?
And now it's time for me to leave. Perhaps our paths will cross again at a later date.
Oh, joy, I have something to live for now. I think with that we should head into the Silverite mine and deal with the Darkspawn. They should be at least a little bit more personable than she was.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!